Hello, today we're going to talk about barrel conversions for the Glock 23. More specifically, this is the Storm Lake 40 to 9mm barrel conversion made specifically for this firearm. There are a number of reasons why you'd want to do something like this, ranging anywhere from the idea that 9mm ammunition, sometimes depending on the market, is less expensive, so you could have a little bit more time to shoot on the range with this than you would if you were shooting 40 caliber ammo out of it. Maybe you've got a bunch of friends that all have 9mm and you all want to go together to grab, a bulk ammo pack to go shooting, and you don't want to have to carry separate ammunition. Or maybe it's just that you're one of the survivalist types and you want to be able to use whatever ammunition is available to you, whether it's 9mm or 40 caliber, whatever. So I've had this barrel now for about, a little over a month. I've shot about 200 rounds through it. So far, I haven't seen one failure to feed. I haven't seen a jam, anything. It's been just as reliable as the original barrel that came in the Glock 23. Storm Lake makes some really nice barrels. In fact, a lot of the barrels that I use in competition are made by the same company. So I'm going to put this down here. First things first, we'll pick this up and make sure there's nothing in the chamber. You can visually inspect it there. It's empty. It's really a simple process to change this barrel. If you want to see here, it says plainly right there that it's a 23 and 40, and it's also got 40 stamped right at the top of the barrel there. Now, the reason that this is possible is because these Glock handguns, as well as a lot of your other major manufacturers like your SIGs and HKs and a lot of them really these days, the barrel isn't just a barrel. It's got the chamber and the feed ramps and everything all built into this one unit. So once you take the old barrel out and drop this one in, that's really all there is to it. And the biggest difference, well, really the only difference between a Glock 19 and a Glock 23, the 9mm and the 40 caliber version, of course, aside from the stamp on the side of the slide, is really this right here. It's just the hole that's machined into the slide. And I want to make sure you understand that I'm not pointing this at myself or at anyone else. The camera is actually pointing towards me from across the desk, so the firearm's still pointed in a safe direction. So in order to do this, again, just for safety's sake, we'll make sure there's nothing in the chamber, nothing in the mag well at all, and we have to be double safe here because we actually have to pull the trigger so that we can decock it before we can actually take the slide off, or it won't let us take the slide off. I can show you here. So to take the slide off of a Glock like this, they all come apart exactly the same. You just pull the slide back about a little over 1/4 of an inch, maybe just a little more than that, and you depress this lever, and it's on both sides. You just push it down like this, kind of force it down. It doesn't really move unless you have the slide back. So you can do it however you want. What I do is I stick between the thumb and index finger there, just as if you're gonna grab a hold of it to shoot, but instead grab a hold of the top of the slide and pull back like this. And while you're doing that, you push this down and then let the slide come forward. And like I said, it doesn't actually come off. So it starts to, but it gets stuck. So what we have to do is pull the trigger so that we know it's decocked, and then we do the same process over again. Just push this back a little bit and hold it with these fingers while you push down on this. And then the the slide just comes right off. Now the frame, we're not really interested in that at all. If you want to see, if you've never taken one of these apart, there's not really a lot to do. There's just the trigger mechanism in there. So we'll set that off to the side. And what we're really interested in is this part right here. The slide and the recoil spring and the guide rod here will have to be removed. It's really simple. This is, honestly, it's just a piece of plastic with a spring wrapped around it. So you have to depress the spring a little bit to pull it out of the notch. If you can see the notch that is kind of stuck in there. So you just pull it back a little bit and it'll just pop out. So there's not really much to it. And we'll set that down here. And then the barrel will just lift and slide forward a little bit and then lift out. And the reason it has to slide a little bit is if you look at the top, it's kind of wedged in here, and that's really how the barrel stays in place when you're shooting. So it'll pull up and then pull back like that, and that's it. So you can set the old barrel aside, and if you want, I'll show you here the differences between them. The new barrel is just about a third I have a little trouble focusing here, but it's just about a third bigger, well, thicker actually. The walls of the tube is all, which in the case of a firearm really isn't a bad thing anyway. You know, having a stiffer barrel is usually a good thing. So we'll set the original barrel to the side, and this one just, you've got the hole in the slide there, and we just set this down and stick the end of the barrel into that hole until it sticks through just a little bit, and you've got a little gap there, and then you can just pull it back and it sort of locks into that notch when the top falls in, almost like the block games you played when you were a kid. And at that point it's really stuck and it's not moving unless you flip it over. Then you take your guide rod and spring and you'll stick it in this hole right here, just like that, and then set it down here, and this is where you'll have to compress the spring a little bit to get it down into that notch. And it's kind of hard, but it's not too hard, so you just give it a little pull and it should pop right down in there like that. And at that point you've really finished. I mean, all that's left is to take the frame, and there are grooves here and here, and there are grooves in the slide right here on both sides. So you just take the frame, slide it on like that, and then pull it until it clicks, and that is it. And now your Glock 23 is officially a 9mm. And you really notice the difference in the thickness of the barrel. That's really all there is to it. In order to make this work the way that it should, frankly, they say that you can use the original .40 caliber magazines in this. I wouldn't. In fact, I just happen to have some spare magazines that were meant for a Glock 19 laying around, so that made it easy for me. But also, if you have a Glock 17, the larger capacity 17 round magazines will fit right in this, no problem, and fire. Like I said, I haven't tried using the .40 caliber magazines. Some people have complained about the reliability, so not of this barrel in particular, but of another brand. It's called Lone Wolf, that makes a similar conversion. And I really have to wonder if a lot of the reliability problems that they've complained about are because they're trying to feed ammunition from magazines that weren't meant to hold that caliber of ammunition. I've like I said, since I've been using this, I haven't had one problem feeding ammo. I haven't had any kind of failures whatsoever. It's been just as good as shooting a Glock in 40. There's the Glock 19 mag. It slides into place and clicks. Like I said, the frame here and the magazines, the outer wall of them, is exactly the same as what you would find on a Glock 19. In fact, if you pulled this slide off, you could put a Glock 19 slide on in place of it with the 19 magazine and it would work fine. So that's all I've got. I hope you found it interesting.